This, okay. I think this is working. Let me see if I can pull it up on my phone really quick just to make sure. So I am live here with my mama. So fun for us to be able to do this together. We've been talking about it for a while. I don't know if this is working yet. Hopefully it is. But basically today, this interview is actually for our workshop. The workshop I'm teaching this month for the month of April on hormonal balance and talking about adrenal health, thyroid health. We're talking about sex hormones, progesterone, testosterone, estrogen, and then we're talking about specific diagnoses within that area and explaining them a little bit more and why they happen. So this first week is all on adrenal health, and my mom here is the perfect person to interview because because of what she has really overcome, especially in this last year. And I wanted to interview her so that you guys can kind of get a snapshot into what a true adrenal crash looks like, what some of the warning signs are, what to look for, and really so that more people can identify with this and not think that they're losing their mind. Because I don't know how many people we've met who have these symptoms and the doctor told them that it's fake or it's in their head or it's all made up. And that's like the worst feeling ever. So that's why I wanted to interview her. So, Mama, will you please just tell everybody just a little bit about yourself and your background? And I want you to share with us what kind of personality you have.
Well, I'm a lot like my daughter, or my daughter's a lot like me.
Yeah.
We have the creative energy of maybe 10 people in one. So very driven, very excited, very like glasses half full, silver lining. Let's find new amazing ways to do this and then make it happen. And do 5 of those things at once. So that's, yeah. I am 52. I am a mom, married, and had a couple of my own successful businesses. In the past, I've done everything from really young to now, everything from snow ski instructor to office administrator to benefits administrator to owning a very fun, successful coffee house.
Catering.
Yes, twice. I was lucky enough actually to be a stay-at-home mom when my kids were little, and that was very, very important to me. And back then, we were able to make that happen. But I was constantly being creative, how to get a few more bucks on our family pocket. And especially when the kids started doing travel team and everything, we would do yard sales and sell breakfast burritos to buy all the expensive cleats and the travel team fees and all of that. So there's never been a lack for creativity to make things happen and jump in. I'm grateful for that, but it's gotten me in a lot of trouble too. My most recent career is in real estate. I opened up an office downtown Sonora with Remax a few years ago. And between running that, running a team, and my own business, and trying to invite others, to come in and try to just bring something different, something out of the box, something that is not, currently seen. It was really very fun, very exciting. But during that time too, I was traveling quite a bit to Mexico, helping assist working on a development out there. So, and that was, I think, every maybe 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah, at least.
Throwing events all at the same time. So anyway, yeah, a couple years ago, I just let it get to a point where it really was. I mean, I even had close friends and family say, I don't know how you're doing all this. I'm like, oh, it's okay.
It's okay. It's fine. It's good.
We're making it happen. So I'm not sure where you want me to start.
I will ask you questions. I just wanted to highlight a couple of things because your personality, and I learned this from you, which I'm very thankful for, but we are a family of overcomers, and we are very solutions oriented. And I think that's why sometimes it's hard for us to slow down, because we don't see ourselves as victims or weak, or we just don't go there ever. And I think that's a piece of it. So for those of you who don't know anything about our background and our story, or my mom's, she truly is one of the strongest humans I've ever met in my life. And you hear all these things that she's done, but in the midst of that was, I think it's important to back up and identify some of the stressors, because you had a couple.
I forget, I think
I know.
We're good at not camping there.
Yeah.
I look at those things sometimes like having a bad case of the flu, and you just, you look at the silver lining, if there's any, in all of these, and just pick up and move on to the best of things. So I do skim over the struggles for that reason.
Which is crazy, because like what you specifically have been through in your entire life is like 20 people's, not even like maybe even 100 people's different life struggles. And I know that has played a piece to all of this, but still this is where you're at, which is really remarkable. So like, I feel like I just want to like one sentence snapshot, just some of those pieces of your life. So, going back, I'll just start with our accident. And, when I was 11 and me and my dad were hit by a drunk driver, and my dad passed away from malpractice issues. And like, that's one sentence, just so bizarre to like sum it up in one sentence. But you were 33 at the time?
I was 32. And
that's so weird.
I know, it's so weird. It's so strange to look at, because I look at that sometimes. There's not a day goes by that I don't reflect, and I don't think, and I don't look at the milestones and think what your dad's not here for. So at 32, and this was not just my husband, this was all I knew. This was my high school sweetheart. We grew up to adults together and had children together. So this was all I knew. This was my security. And literally was ripped apart from that, not by any of our choices. And at the same time, I had, your little brother, who is, I keep messing this up, 5 or 6. Some of that's a blur, so I always goof up the ages, and I get in trouble from him. But anyway, so I had your little brother, who was just so
sensitive,
broken, broken. He was broken, and he was just heartbroken. And then I had Jessica, who needed 5 more surgeries and was in a hospital bed in our house, and had nurses and therapists coming in every single day, a couple times a day, and looked at, the calendar that I had to get her through more surgeries. And, you in the accident thinking, they said my dad was fine and now he's gone. What if that same thing happens to me? And bring doctors in that were friends just to do the assessment, to give you some peace of mind and assurance. So there was just for that first 6 months anyway, it was just, how do I breathe? How do I help my children breathe? How do we do this? And I do remember, and I know we're not saying too much on this, but I do remember that was one of the bigger first things that I had to really encounter and overcome as an adult. And I did have to make that decision. It did come to a point where I had to make an absolute decision to not allow bitterness, resentment, why me, to enter into my home or my children, because I knew that would destroy us. I seen that settle in other families, and I seen it destroy them. And I knew that, that was not going to be allowed. That was not going to be an option. We talked about your dad all the time. It wasn't that you have to forget it and not be sad. That wasn't it at all. I think it's very important to feel all those things and go through those motions. Yeah. But to make that decision, and I think doing that helped pave the way to make that same kind of decision in anything else that comes along.
Right. Which there were, right? So you fast forward, and thankfully you met Tim, and he's been a huge blessing to our life. And, it was before that you met him. I was
diagnosed with
cancer. Then you got cancer.
Yeah.
Like a year and a half after, I think, it was Hodgkin's lymphoma. And went through that, not only was it just cancer, you almost died a couple times because you were the 1 in a million who had an allergic reaction to the chemo, and then living with that fear. Thankfully you beat it. And I know I'm just kind of busting through these just for the lack of time, but you went through cancer, made it. Still, then after being a survivor of that, then you have that fear kind of for a while, if not forever, of is it going to come back?
Sure.
And doctors telling you you're probably going to end up having to get your thyroid removed and having all these issues because of the treatments you just went through. Right. And so constantly living with that anxiety underlying, even though you're choosing, I'm going to be okay, underneath, it's always brewing. And so you have that going on. You get remarried, have 2 miscarriages, but the second one was actually a stillborn baby girl. And I'm sorry, this is like torture, and I'm bringing all of this up in one.
I know. It's almost, I think it's kind of, that's probably why I don't bring it up a lot, is because it's almost embarrassing of how it's almost like someone might be thinking I'm making it up, because it's just like,
it's so crazy.
So that, you know, that it really, they didn't even consider it a miscarriage because it's so far along in the pregnancy that
she was a baby. She had a birth certificate and a death certificate.
We held her. We had to go through, I had to go through full, I say everything. We because we all went through this together.
But
we had to go through
labor and
full labor, delivery. Did not, surprise, did not react well to some of the medication. So I had to feel the full effects of hours and hours of brutal
days
labor.
Yeah.
Which,
and then,
you know, which was no happy ending at the end. It was horrible. It was horrible. Yeah. And this, for me, when I was pregnant with Abigail, I thought this was going to be my happily ever after, my joy for all these other challenging things. So, I know we can't stay here.
Yeah, so it's just another piece, right? And so there's just a lot that you have been through, and I feel like it's all kind of added up in addition to you having the personality that you have. And so next I want to kind of talk about this last maybe couple years. What would you, in our family has been in health and wellness and studied it. I mean, you've always been interested in it since you're a little girl, but like I remember really diving in when I had my health issues personally in college. And then we started researching together a lot and talking about, we became familiar with adrenal fatigue, you know, over 10 years ago. So, and you took a lot of stuff to prevent it. But at what point did you say you started recognizing some first symptoms that your body was kind of starting to slow down?
So I would say a year before I experienced my crash, my official crash, I didn't have time to pay attention to the symptoms. I think I always had symptoms, but like you said, because we did so much research and we knew so much, I was very, very good at band-aiding my adrenal fatigue. I knew just when to take, I was going to say no, but I didn't do that very well.
You didn't do that very good at all.
Really, instead of saying no, I just took more adrenal supplements.
Right.
I took
yes to more.
I would have no wine, or, you know, I would do these things that would get me through, that would band-aid things.
Temporarily.
I knew enough about it, which is kind of dangerous, maybe. I hate to use that word, but, you know, it's just, I was band-aiding a lot. I was band-aiding because I knew enough to get me through. I would say a year before I crashed, I experienced, I got really sick. I was on a retreat, a yoga surf retreat in Mexico, and I got sick. At the end of the retreat, it got really, 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 really sick. Don't know really what did it. There's a few different things that it could have been. It could have been even the water from surfing twice a day, or a food bacteria or something. And I got incredibly sick, and my body was really never the same after that. And I learn now and know now that it really, it made a really hard hit on my weak adrenals already. My adrenals were already exhausted, working as hard as they possibly could for me. And I was kept pushing them and pushing them. I didn't rest enough. I allowed stress to continue on my plate. And the stress, I just want to say something, because something I was stuck in was I always equaled stress. That picture to me was someone that was like pulling their hair out and stressed out and freaked out and everything. Well, that was never me. But the good stress is just as difficult and just as hard on your body and your adrenals and your organs and everything than the, freaked out kind of stress. So it didn't matter. So for me, I kept saying, no, I'm not stressed. This is good. It's all good. I'm juggling, I'm juggling. Fine. This is happening. Things are happening.
And I'm like, Mom,
yeah,
you slow down. I'm the mother in the relationship.
She really is.
I know.
Always has been. That's another video.
I know. Okay. So let's fast forward to you started, and I remember this too. You would start experiencing a lot of gut issues.
Tons. So yeah, over that period of a year. So it took a year from the time I got incredibly sick in Mexico, which now I know I did pick up some nasty bacteria, including E. coli. And so my gut started deteriorating even more. And so this is what I didn't get. I was dairy-free, pretty gluten-free. I drank a lot of wine, which I had to start backing off of, which is terrible. I'm being totally honest. That was one of the hardest things for me, because it was great at the end of my busy day or weekends to just go enjoy wine and be social. And that was hard for me, but it was just, I couldn't handle it anymore. It was causing horrible pain and inflammation. It got to the point where it didn't matter what I ate. So I was trying to do I thought I'll just eat more sauerkraut. That'll heal my gut so I can keep going on this pace. And slowly over that year, I remember in November, one of the last things I did, and I forced myself, I remember putting on my shoes to go to a listing appointment at Murphy's, and my husband had to drive me. And I was putting on my shoes, sitting in the chair in my living room with tears just coming down my face. I knew something was wrong. I did not feel well. I couldn't get it together. And my husband's just like, what's wrong? And I remember just looking up at him and saying, I can't do this. I don't think I can do this. But it was like, okay, do I lose this listing? Do I go make this happen? I felt guilty. I was carrying guilt because I wasn't the fun wife that my husband was used to. And we hadn't gone out. We hadn't done anything, because by that time it had just accumulated and got worse and worse and worse. I should back up a bit. I started having what I now know were mini, I would say pre-crash episodes, where I would get respiratory and I'd be in bed for a few days.
Respiratory illness, like
respiratory
issues.
Infection.
Yeah.
Correct. Which wasn't me. I mean, I would never take a nap, I love naps now. Would never take a nap, would never rest. I just push through, or I'd rest a couple days if I was horribly sick. And then I would, catch up. I'd have my laptop in bed, try not to miss a beat, and my phone, and making things happen. And so I was slowly through that year, I continued getting worse and worse. And it was most noticeable with my gut health. And I did find in my journal during my major healing crisis, I found in a journal in that prior year, that I wrote something to the fact of, this is different. I feel like if I don't take a serious look at my health, I'm going to be facing something significant. I remember writing that. I think it was in May. I think it was May of 2017. And I wrote that. And I remember I described laying in bed with tingling going from my hips all the way through my legs. I remember just intuitively feeling like, this is a warning sign and you need to pay attention. I didn't 100%. I did a little bit. I did make
But that goes back to our personality, I think. You have the personality of, I can push through, I can figure it out. It's just temporary, it'll be okay. And I think that's why. Yeah.
And here's a lie. And I want to say this because I think there are a lot of people like us. There's a lie that I listened to that entire time, that I had no option.
Yes.
That's a lie.
So
That is a big
true.
fat lie. And I really believed that, that I had no options. And I, would let people down. If I couldn't do this, this, and this, I'm going to let my team down. I'm going to let my clients down. I'm going to let my husband down. I'm going to let my family down. I would feel guilt. I created this world where I felt guilty to rest. I felt guilty to take a nap or take a day off or say no. And I feel like that is just a big poison in so many of our lives. So trying to stay on track. Sorry. So that was happening that year. That Murphy's trip in November. I took a few breaths. My husband drove me. He's like, I'll drive you. All you have to do is sit there. He didn't really understand what was going on. And so we just went with it. So I had my folder. I leaned my seat back and I closed my eyes the whole entire trip to Murphy's. I went through the listing appointment, put my face on. My husband helped me and talked to clients. We walked through their house and gave them input what to do before the listing. And anyway, the whole normal thing. And then on the way back, I'm like, okay, let's stop and have a lunch. Let's just have lunch together. This is, we've missed out on some
I'm going to stop you really quick just because Liam just woke up. So I'm going to go get him, but I want you to continue with this. And then I want you to go into your actual crash and then kind of just describe briefly this last year. Like,
are you going to be gone that long?
No, but okay. I need to go get him.
Okay, go.
Okay, so that's where we're going.
Okay. So on the way back, we stopped in Murphy's. We stopped at a little restaurant downtown, and I was just trying to persevere and put my face on and be the fun, happy wife and just have this special lunch together. And I was horribly sick. I ordered a salad. Even eating the salad, I could instantly feel it. I felt like my body, someone was slowly like pulling out the plug. And that's the best way to describe it. Hi, Liam. Hi, Pumpkin. So I was fading during lunch, but I kept pretending and putting the smile on and feeling like I needed to be this wife for my husband. And so, and it wasn't the pressure he was putting on me. I was doing it all to myself. And so we went home, and I feel like that was the beginning. I called one of my team members at that time, Brad, and I'm like, you are going to have to take this over. It was the beginning stages of me finally knowing something serious was about to unravel, and I needed to make some really serious decisions. So that happened, and that was the beginning. So all the rest of November and into December, I was hit with a heavy respiratory infection. So basically what was happening, now I can have it figured out, but everything was done. I had exhausted everything in my body, and it was starting to send messages like, Gina, we're shutting down because you have pushed us too far. And guess what? We're going to kind of shut you down so that you can't do this anymore.
You don't have a choice.
And that's what happened. So in late November, so I pushed through a few things in November and December. I pulled back a bit because I was so sick, but I probably did
You also pushed through to Christmas. That was it, because
Christmas is so important to me with my family.
But that was,
I know.
Told you over and over, like, we don't need to do this, but I remember that too. And I think that was part of, though, your personality of, no, like, I have to do this, and part of holding on to that.
There were so many not silly things. There were so many important things that mean a lot to me, and family is everything to me. And, my sister came out from Montana. It was mid-December. And I wanted everyone to love on her. And so for me, the thing I figured, my compromise was, we'll do a potluck, so I'm not doing all the cooking. So
at your house.
I invited everyone over to our house. I remember looking back now, I can look at some of those pictures and I can see it in my eyes in those pictures that I was partially there. But anyway, so things like that started happening. Late December, it was after Christmas. Christmas Day, I remember in a lot of the pictures, I was still in my pajamas. I was out of it, out of it. I did not realize how bad it was getting. But when my body finally just said, You're done. And let me say, I'm really grateful. If anyone's on this pattern, this could be a very
lonely,
very dangerous road to keep pushing through on. A few of the doctors, and after my more research, found I'm really grateful that I didn't have a heart attack or a stroke or something more significant, complete adrenal failure. I wouldn't be here right now. So I ended up after Christmas, it was a few days after Christmas, I looked through my journals and double checked. It was a few days after Christmas, late December 2017, where I had now it was diagnosed finally as a late stage 3 adrenal crash. It took weeks to figure out what really was happening. I won't go through too much to go into all the little craziness things, but I will tell you that first few weeks, this entire journey actually, compared to everything else that Jessica talked to you about that I went through, this was by far the most terrifying. This was by far the most difficult and scariest and hardest thing to journey through. I'm on month 16 and I'm doing amazing, but I'm still not 100%. Right. What I learned from it and my walk with God and the level of depthness that has gotten and the changes that it's bringing, I wouldn't trade for anything. But this truly, truly was the most difficult thing I've ever had to walk through in my life. And I honestly, and this is no joke, and I'm not dramatizing this, I was fighting for my life for the first 3 to 4 months. It was a battle from the morning I opened my eyes till I went to sleep at night. It was a minute by minute battle for my life. Yep. And it took everything I had to walk through it. It wasn't just when you have adrenal fatigue, when you have adrenal crash. And so let me clarify really quick. I had a lot of learning to do. There's so many people that said, "Oh yeah, I've had a crash before." Well, I'm not talking about when you just like hit the wall and you're in bed for the weekend because you're exhausted and you need to catch up and you need to go to the spa, you need to take a bath, or you need to do whatever. I'm not talking about that. This is a serious.
Your body starts shutting down.
Yeah. Yes. And I had, I don't know what my Siri's doing. I had, this is one of the resources that helped me a lot, and Dr. Lamb's website and Dr. Lamb's staff helped me significantly. And this is where I learned a lot. He really defines the difference between a crash and then when I started reading of how long it would take me to recover, I was like not wanting to accept it. In my brain, I'm like, oh no, we're overcomers. We're going to make this happen in half the time.
Right.
Silly me.
That's why you cry.
Yes. So there is a significant difference between adrenal fatigue and levels of adrenal fatigue and an actual adrenal crash, which can take you, when I was being told by doctors, they finally figured out what was going on, which took forever. And I do have to say that I had to trust my intuitiveness, my daughter, my more holistic doctors, medicine doctors, because how do I say this nicely? Most of the Western style medicine doctors do not recognize adrenal fatigue. When I connected with friends across the world, the UK, Canada, that were walking through a similar situation, I felt really bad for them because they had gone into the emergency room dozens of times and been sent home, nothing's wrong with you, or been given antidepressants, go home, over and over and over and over. Well, at least I knew enough from my background, from research and with Jessica, that this was my adrenals. And then, we had amazing help, like, Tamara Lund, who does functional medicine, who is my lifesaver, who, I hate to name names now because I'm going to forget everyone, but Cindy Rivera, who was here saving my life with everything from pine needle tea to, fermented garlic on my stomach and and our walks. And I mean, it's unbelievable. We can do another video sometime on just I would love to help someone. I remember going through the pits of this, telling Jessica, probably through me gripping her and like crying a lot. But I just said, I want to help someone someday that's walking through this, because thankfully I knew enough to keep me going and keep me trying, doing the hard things like making the porridge. I can't even think of the name right now. Slippery elm porridge to heal my gut. And there's a huge list of things that
you're going to overwhelm everybody right now.
I know, I'm sorry.
I'll go into that. But I do, because this has gone like almost an hour.
Oh
but
my gosh.
Yeah, it's okay. No, it's okay. I just wanted to point out a couple things, because, there's people who are watching this and who are like, well, what are the symptoms exactly? And I wanted to highlight a couple, especially some of the ones that you experience that people don't understand are associated with adrenal fatigue or an adrenal crash. First of all, foggy mind is a huge one. And I will, just to put in perspective where my mom was, you guys, I had this monster January 9th, and she didn't see him for a month, because I had a complicated labor. I had lost a ton of blood. I couldn't leave my house, and she couldn't leave her house. And if you know her, you can just imagine, like, she would move heaven and earth to see her new grandbaby, and she couldn't for a month. Like, that's it. That is how extreme this truly was. And the anxiety, right? And so many people who suffer with adrenal fatigue suffer with anxiety because of how your nervous system is affected. And there were days where I remember she would call me and just be like, I just need you to tell me that I'm going to be okay, because I feel like I'm going to die. I just am so afraid that if I go to sleep or if I close my eyes, I feel outside of my body right now. I feel like I'm going to stop breathing, and that heaviness that she would feel, like, I feel like my body, if I go to sleep, I'm going to stop breathing. Just that, the anxiety that I know many of you feel, don't feel alone in that, because, this for you, has been such a real part of your own journey. Obviously the extreme fatigue. If you're someone who's just, maybe suffering a little bit with some adrenal fatigue, you usually have insomnia at night where you cannot sleep, and in the morning you really struggle to get out of bed. I'm sorry, this monster is falling apart. He wants batteries.
I would love to just quickly share, because I know we're out of time and I won't talk more. If anyone wants to talk more, maybe we could do a video later on the actual journey part. But I want to encourage any of you who have symptoms with adrenal fatigue, and all you have to do is Google it, and you'll look. There's quizzes out there online even to take. There's different levels. Go to drlam.com, LAM, and there's fabulous articles there and tests that you can take. But really, the biggest message I would love to help people with is, first of all, there's things you could do so that you don't crash. The crash that I experienced is very, very, very rare. And for me, I had some other issues that combined with it to have that happen. But I don't want, if I can help anyone from getting to that point, I lived with adrenal fatigue for years. You don't have to do that. There's a lot I did to overcome it. I would have been probably in the doctor's or hospital years prior if I wasn't doing all these other good things. But the symptoms are real. The emotions, the foggy mind, the feeling you're not connected, the anxiety, the anxiousness, all of that's real. And I 100% relate. It's not all in your head. Do not let anyone lie to you and tell you that it's in your head. There's nothing wrong with you. And here's another lie that I think women especially believe and accept. And I just want to encourage you to get rid of it. I'm 52. And I've had friends younger than me even say, well, this is just a part of getting older. It's the new me. It's the new, what I have to, learn to live with. And that is a big fat lie. It's not true. You don't have to live like that. You don't have to live with it. There's so much you can do. Don't live with anxiety. Don't live with that anxious feeling. Don't live with being unsettled and the foggy brain. You don't need to do that. There's such a combination of really simple things that you can do and life changes. And I would say the biggest is to start with is take some quiet time and find some quiet time and a notebook. And if you're a spiritual person, pray about it. I pray about everything. If you're not, pray about it anyway, even maybe. But you're going to find that write down those things in your life that first come to your mind that bring stressors to you, that are a lot for you, and try to make some changes. There's always a way. There's always a way.
Absolutely. So. And along those lines, this interview is going to be plugged into the workshop that I'm teaching that I'd mentioned, the Hormone Balance Workshop. And that is part of what you guys all know who are watching this now, that I full-time am a health and fitness coach. And that's what I love to teach about, is helping people heal their bodies at a foundational level. And this is a huge part of it. So if you actually would like to work with either of us, because I am helping my mama too, just learn how she can help more people. We will be doing more videos. She will be doing more videos, sharing her story. Just reach out and we can share with you what we do and what she's continuing to do to prevent going backwards, because it's a terrifying place that we don't ever want to go back to. So
I wanted to offer too, I hope this isn't too overwhelming. If there's, especially women, if there's anyone that is walking through something that they feel like they're in the midst of deep adrenal fatigue and they don't know what it is, or they want to prevent happening what I just walked through, I am more than happy one-on-one to talk to anyone and help them through. And I will be joining Jessica with a lot of, what are the courses you're doing? Who hijack my hormones.
Yeah, that one's this month. And then on Monday, we're actually starting a 21-day, just like a fun foundational, like, let's learn how to just exercise, move our bodies. Let's learn how to eat right. Let's learn how to drink water. Let's learn like that.
So any 50 and over, I'm more than happy to partner up with and have you call me directly or reach out to me and help you, because there's a different mindset, especially if you've gone through anything close to what I've walked through. There's a different capability that I have right now. I don't have Jessica's energy, but I love on days when I need to, I can flip it to yoga, or I can go outside and walk, and I can go outside and again, another topic, but I can go outside barefoot in the ground and get grounded for a while. There's just so much I would love to share with someone in my shoes or walking through, headed towards where I was going. I would love to help prevent anyone from having to go through a true adrenal crash, because if I didn't have some of the healthy things and people surrounding me and support system, I wouldn't even be where I'm at today. I would be
for sure.
I don't know if I would be here. I'd probably either not be alive, and that's how serious it was, or I'd be stuck on some kind of heavy medication and believing some diagnosis that some of the doctors are trying to give me and do and tell me, and accept that. And I just so strongly, with my whole heart, believe that you don't have to live in that and live with that. So I'd like to help be a resource if I can in any way.
I love it. Cool. Well, thank you guys for those of you who've been watching. I know we've got a ton of views already on Facebook, and this recording will be going into our workshop. Reach out if you have any questions and you'd like to join us. And I hope this was helpful. Bye, you guys.
Bye.
Bye.